definitely the most scariest film out there to date.
Birds? I own
Oh, I
birds.
hate birds.
And
I hate birds.
I-
I hate birds
I
with
like-
a passion. I hate it. I will say it again.
Hold-
I hate fucking birds. I had to watch
Hold
that
on.
for...
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were talking about the movie or just birds in
No,
general.
the movie. Hello, everyone. It is Halloween now, finally. Well, a week before Halloween. Well, actually a couple days before Halloween. And this is the last Halloween edition Cinnamontography. And I have a very special guest with me to help me with these last two movies. And that is Earthworm from the Anime Brothers.
Hello, everybody. I have bad news. This call is coming from inside the house.
Oh,
no. No, I'm honestly super excited that you asked me to do this.
Yeah.
I really enjoy reviewing things that aren't anime.
Yes,
Because
same.
every week we review anime, so
Yeah,
it's like I get to branch out and do other media.
Yeah, it's a nice like little break from, all our nerd, like literally nerdy culture, just to start nerding out on American culture.
That's the thing, you got to break it up sometimes. It's like the sections of nerddom. We just need to go out, and it's like, you know what? No, I want some English high fantasy today.
Yeah.
Or I want some horror today. I'm tired of animated
Right.
people. Fuck these guys.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so glad that Sam and I started like branching out and doing these like extra episodes, and especially like our cinematography series and stuff. So because like I love movies and I love to talk about movies and everything like that. I mean, when Ethan was on, like I told him that, whenever I feel like watching a movie, because I have like a huge movie collection in my library, so I'll just like pick a stack of like maybe 5 or 6 movies out of my library, and I'll just sit them by the TV, and whenever I feel like watching one of them, I'll just pick one up and put it in my PlayStation and I'll watch him. So
That's too funny. You and my co-host, for anybody who hasn't listened to the Anime Brothers, my co-host JD, and you are the exact same. He has in his basement a like wall full of DVDs and Blu-rays that he's just amassed over the years.
Yeah.
He's always asking me to watch them, and I'm like, I don't know, man. You want me to commit an hour and a half to 2 hours just sitting here? Like, I don't know.
It's just so much fun. And now, with streaming, HBO Max and like Paramount Plus, like all of these kind of companies are branching out to like streaming stuff and everything. Like now my library is even bigger than it is currently. So
Yeah. No, HBO Max has been a godsend because I've gotten more into movies the older I've gotten.
Mm-hmm.
I find my attention span's a little bit longer now. So yeah, it's awesome. Like there's so many goddamn classics on there. Obviously, it's HBO.
Yeah.
They've all been filtered through there at some point. But yeah, that's where I watched Nightmare on Elm Street. Actually.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, we're doing our reviews for A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original from 1984 that was directed by Wes Craven. And then the other review we're doing John Carpenter's Halloween from 1978. So I'm very excited for these two movies. But before we get into that, I want you guys to head over to Spotify and give us a rating so we can get to 100 ratings. The last time I checked, we were at 85. So we need to get to 100 ratings so we can do our live Twitch streams. So we can give out giveaways and do video gamings and all that fun stuff. And also for me to do my dumbass School Days review.
I'm gonna have to watch School Days just so I know what you're talking about and can have some reference.
God, no, you
yeah.
don't want to watch it.
But yeah, no, Dannie is being nice. She's asking you listeners, please go over to Spotify. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you. Go over to Spotify right now. Are you an Apple Podcast listener? First of all, I use Apple Podcast and it sucks, so stop using it. Go over to Spotify, listen to 30 seconds of these wonderful people, and take a minute and a half out of your day and press that 5-star.
Yay!
Not even to get the benefits of anything. Just do it to be a good goddamn person, or else.
All
right?
Arthur, you're gonna make me tear up.
Oh no, unnecessary. It's just, well, it blows my mind because it's like you're like these pioneers of anime podcasting, and I see other podcasts that are like not nearly half as good as you, us included, getting these Spotify ratings, and I'm like, did people not know? Have they not heard about the summit, about the mountain that is Anime Summit? What are we doing here? Anyway, I will stop jerking off the podcast.
Oh no, you're
now,
good. You're
we
good.
Can talk about horror.
This is all fun. That's what like I love about the EX episodes. Is just, you can just filibuster and rail off all you want half the time. So, but
I'm really good at that.
Yeah,
so be
me
careful
too.
how
Same.
much leeway you give me.
Same. But before, I actually do want to congratulate you in like a voice. I don't want to say in person because I'm not in front of you, but like on voice on your 100 ratings and stuff. So
thank you. All you have to do is offer up to dress up in a bunny girl suit that will not fit you. Apparently, that's all you got to do.
Yeah, when I saw JD post the three cosplay costumes, I literally was all like, "There's no point in me voting because I know which one is going to be picked." So
now I gotta ask though, what other one were you thinking, Kaguya-sama, or did you want to give me some dignity with the Saitama pick?
No, I mean I voted anyway.
Okay.
I voted for Kaguya-sama.
Which honestly would probably work out the best. I've got nice long hair. Like all I'd have to do is get somebody to do it up. Like I think I'd rock that one,
Yeah.
but I guess the sex sells. The people want me to show a little skin, so here we go.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's all good. You make it work. It'll be fine.
I'll do my best.
That'll be so fun to see on video and everything like that. I'm excited for that.
I am excited, and I'm also stressing out because not only do I have to embarrass myself, but it's like, oh boy, I get to learn a whole new skill set. I got to learn how to video edit.
Yeah,
Woo.
yeah. Good luck. I mean, I don't know anything about that. I'm starting to get the hang of like not video editing, like audio editing, and stuff. So, and that's a chore half the time. So.
It's honestly, audio editing is 90% listening back to your episode and tediously cutting out little mic bumps and coughs, and then 10% knowing how to work an EQ.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so let's get right into it.
All right, let's get into the spooky.
So we're gonna do A Nightmare on Elm Street first, and then we will do John Carpenter's Halloween. So. Because before we actually recorded, I was talking to Earthworm a little bit, and our views on these two movies are about the same, so we're just going to do that.
Absolutely. Now, before we actually start reviewing, I want to ask you at least a couple of questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you said to me, and I think you've said to the world, you don't. This isn't really your thing. Scary movies aren't your. Sam is a slut for scary movies. You not so much.
Yeah.
So. What is your experience with scary movies? Did you have one when you were a kid that like scared you off or what?
So when I was a kid, my parents weren't really the type of people to watch scary movies. So I didn't really grow up with it. Plus, like, I'm an only child, so I didn't have any siblings or older siblings who like watched any scary movies and stuff. So plus there are a couple Disney movies that creeped me the fuck out. Like, Alice in Wonderland creeped me out.
That'll do it. Yep.
Pinocchio really freaked me out, and Dumbo also
Okay,
scared
was
me.
Pinocchio the was it the scene where all the kids are turning into
Yes.
donkeys? Because I've heard that one scares the shit out of kids.
Yes, that one scared the shit out of me. And then in Dumbo, with like the weird looking elephants, like that psychedelic kind of scene that happens.
Yeah, I think I
that.
know which one you're talking
Yeah.
about. I'm not very versed on Disney movies. I apologize. Put your
Oh,
pitchforks
that's
down.
it. Canceled. Canceled.
Fucking show's over. Fuck you, Earthworm. Trust me, I've gotten it from every girlfriend I've ever had and everybody else in my life. They're like, "What the hell? You don't like The Lion King?" I'm like, "I never said I didn't like it. I just haven't watched it."
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I have seen it since, but I was
Okay.
like 16.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. It's fine. You're not completely uncultured swine, so
Okay, thank you.
You're off the hook for now.
Thank you. So my other question is before these two, are there any prominent horror movies that maybe a friend had shown
Okay,
you, or were you strictly no horror?
Yeah, so like for a very long time, like as I grew up, I did not like horror movies. Like, I mean, I didn't like anything horror, like when it came to TV shows, movies, and even video games for that matter. When I was growing up, my group of friends, whenever, like a lot of my friends liked horror games, specifically Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and there was a video game. I can't remember what it was called, but there was like a clock tower in it. And yeah, so and the specific time that they liked to play these games was at night. And I hated it. So
that sounds
literally
awful,
that
honestly.
was honestly when it became dark out. That's it. Danielle went home. It's all like, okay, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, yo. Like,
I'm gonna go home and watch Disney.
literally,
with
I'm
the
gonna
lights
go
on.
home and not be like terrorized. So, but the first like scary movie that I watched, was the Resident Evil movie.
Okay,
And
yeah.
That was at a birthday party. And it was at my friend's birthday party, and everyone, and when I found out that we were fucking watching this movie, I'm all like, seriously, like, you guys know that I don't like scary movies. Like, why are we watching this? Like, and throughout the whole entire time, like, I was just not having a good time at all. Like, I kept asking, like, is that person gonna die? Is that person gonna die? Is that person gonna die? And like, everyone like hated me. They're all like, Danielle, shut the fuck up. Like, just watch the movie. I'm like, no, I don't want to watch this movie. Like, so
You made me do this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ruin it for the rest of you.
Yeah. So yeah, and then like over time, I think the one kind of like quote unquote scary movie that I did want to willingly see was, I think it was called Dark Water. It was like, it's like the American version of, it was like, it was a Japanese thing. And
Okay.
yes, it was Dark Water. And then they did, it was like a 2002 Japanese horror. And I think in like 2007, Hollywood decided to take a dab at it. It wasn't good at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So yeah, so that, and then like maybe like 5 years later, honestly, like it was very recent, like 5 years ago, a friend of mine, he made me watch the reboot of The Evil Dead.
Okay.
Uh
How did that go?
Not good, because I was stoned.
Oh no.
And
Okay.
I flat out told him, I said, if we fucking watch this movie, we have to watch a comedy because I am not going home. Like, I no,
Yeah.
like I am
I can't leave
yeah,
here with
like
these
I
feelings
cannot
circling
leave.
around.
Yeah, I cannot leave. Like we have to watch something else or else I won't be able to go to sleep. So we ended up watching Dazed and Confused after, and I ended up going home at like 3 a.m.
Hell yeah, that's a much better movie to watch after you've smoked a little of the giggle bush.
Yeah. So, but over time, like I started to get a little bit more curious, and like I do like watching, certain scary movies. Like I'm more of a thriller type of gal. So, like Rosemary's Baby, I really enjoy that movie. Like literally kind of like, and like The Sixth Sense is another one that I can watch and stuff. So like and even like as I got older, like in my 20s, like a lot of my friends during Halloween, we would have like a movie marathon, and we would go to a friend's house and they would have like two TVs, and at the same time we would play the movie. So like there would be a group in one room and then there would be another group in the other room, and we watched the same movie at the same time. So and those were fun. I mean, I didn't enjoy them because a lot of the movies were really scary. So
Sure. Just find a friend to talk to and whisper in the corner.
Yeah. Like my whole thing when it comes to horror, like one, I need the lights on. I need a security blanket, and either that's if I'm by myself. Like I definitely need the lights on, or like some sort of light that needs to be on around me. But if I'm with friends, like again, like the lights have to be on, and I need a security blanket. So
yeah, fair.
So
hell yeah.
But to back to these movies, that's like my history with horror.
I dig it.
With these, the Netflix docuseries, The Movies That Made Us, they talk about these movies. They talk about John Carpenter's Halloween, and they talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street. And that kind of struck my curiosity on these horror films. Plus, they're from like the late 70s and early 80s. So these old horror movies are like super campy.
They can be.
And
there's a lot of cheese to them.
Yeah. So I think at the movie after, like before these movies, the last like old horror movies that I watched were the original Evil Dead movies, Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2. And I think it was Friday the 13th 5 I watched with a friend. So,
okay.
And they were like, again, like they were not scary at all. They were super campy and stuff. So they didn't really, like, I didn't have nightmares after I watched them.
No, that may, especially some of the later, like just the other day they had a Friday the 13th marathon on, and me and my partner caught a good bit. I think the 6th one or something.
Yeah.
There's this whole scene with like people out playing like a paintball, and there's like military fucking music, and I'm like, this isn't scary. What are we doing here?
Yeah. So, so like, I feel like these old horror flicks I can kind of handle because of the times, and also I guess like that docuseries, The Movie That Made Us, kind of helped me realize like how they made the movies and stuff like that. So it made me feel like, okay, this may not be as bad as I'm putting it out to be and stuff.
Yeah, once you see the guy, like the guy that's the killer, be just a regular dude sitting in a chair, it helps a little bit.
Yeah. So that and that's the thing. Like over time, I did start to become a little bit more curious on horror flicks and anything that is technically quote unquote scary. like movies and TV are definitely different. Video games, however, like I do not touch them, like, because I'm actually I'm experiencing it myself, and I cannot stand jump scares at all. Like,
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've heard people. I listened to a podcast about the role playing game Call of Cthulhu, which is a horror based game, and one of the hosts is like, I've been into horror for 40 years. Nothing scared me anymore. I picked up a PlayStation 1 and played like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, and I about shit my pants.
Yeah. Like, I'll watch freaking Markiplier play like these fucking scary ass games. Like, he played The Forest with a group of his friends, but I thought that was fucking hilarious because they were scared shitless. So
Yeah, you're like, look at this fool. I'm fucking crying because of a video game.
Yeah. So, like, I'll watch somebody play a horror game. Like, I watched somebody play The Last of Us, and because I was curious about the game, because that's the same video game company that does the Uncharted games. And
it's Naughty Dog, right?
yes, yeah. So I was curious, like, because Uncharted is one of my favorite game franchises. So I was curious about what more games did Naughty Dog do, and The Last of Us was one of them. So, and I actually do have the game. It came with my PlayStation 4 for free. So, but I knew I wasn't gonna like it because it's zombies and apocalyptic shit, and I was just like, no. So I watched somebody play it, and that right then and there, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to play this game because there are certain events that happen in that game, and I know I would be terrified. So
yeah, it doesn't help your situation at all when you throw the controller across the room and curl up into a ball.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so let's get started. We're gonna start with A Nightmare on Elm Street, and A Nightmare on Elm Street is a 1984 supernatural slasher film written and directed by Wes Craven and produced by Robert Shaw. It is the first installment of the A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and it stars Heather Langclamp. I guess that's her last name. I'm sorry if anyone knows, like, these people who...
It is an unconventional last name.
It is a very weird one. Anyway, John Saxon, Ronnie Blakely, Robert, England, I guess.
Robert Englund.
Oh, Englund, yeah. Okay. Who is Freddy Krueger, and Johnny Depp, this film is Johnny Depp's film debut. So
yeah, who knew?
Yeah,
like, who knew we'd get a teenage heartthrob?
Yeah,
out of this ridiculously cheesy supernatural horror movie.
Yeah. The movie estimated budget was $1.1 million. The movie was released on November 9th, 1984, and grossed up to $57 million worldwide. The reviews for this was considered one of the greatest horror films ever made, spanning a franchise consisting of 6 sequels, a television series, and a crossover with Friday the 13th, various amongst other merchandise, and a remake with the same name. It also, aside from that, it was the very first film that produced by New Line Cinema, which Robert Shaw created New Line Cinema. And it was pretty much kind of like the pinnacle, Freddy's house, the house that Freddy built, was the nickname for New Line Cinema. So
yeah, I learned that watching the movies that made a docu-series, and it blew my mind. I had no idea Freddy Krueger was responsible for the Rush Hour movies inadvertently.
Yeah,
so,
like, honestly, there were a lot of films that New Line Cinema did, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Lord of the Rings, for that matter.
That one blew my
The
mind. 'Cause, like,
Hobbit, Sex and the City, Harold and Kumar,
Jesus.
Final Destination, The First Blade, the Austin Powers movies. So Friday, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, yeah. So they did the remake It, and they did the Conjuring series, and they also did the movie Shazam.
Wow. I don't know why, but I thought New Line Cinema had got out of business. I don't know why I thought that. And then you start naming off all these like brand new movies. I'm like, holy shit, they are still around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in 2008, so it says, where is it? Aside from Stunts, Polyester, and Alone in the Dark, it was the first. It was the first film produced by New Line Cinema, who by that point mostly distributed films, leading the company to become a successful film studio up until 2008, because in 2008 they merged with Warner Brothers.
Okay, that must be what I'm thinking of
Yeah.
then.
So on February 28th, 2008, Time Warner CEO at the time, Jeffrey Bukies, announced that New Line would be shut down as a separately operated studio. Shay and Lynn said that they would step down with a letter to their employees. So Robert Shay is no longer a part of New Line Cinema anymore. So yeah. I mean, it happens. Like sometimes studio films can't provide a lot of things, especially nowadays, for sure. So, but I mean, it's like the whole like Crunchyroll and Funimation fusion, and how Disney bought out 20th Century Fox and all that kind of stuff. So like it happens.
And like you guys say all the time, mostly about anime, but it's about the people that are actually like on set doing the work. It's not so much about the company name, but like the individual people who are behind the project is always more important.
Yes, yeah. So, but overall, this movie, the plot for it, it's about four teenagers. One of them, Tina Gray, she awakens from a terrifying nightmare wherein a disfigured man wearing a blade-fixed glove attacks her in a boiler room. Her mom points out 4 mysterious slashes on her nightgown. Following morning, Tina's best friend Nancy Thompson and Nancy's boyfriend Glenn Lance, who is played by Johnny Depp, consoles her, revealing they each also had a nightmare the previous night. The two stayed at Tina's house when Tina's mother goes out of town, where she discovers that Nancy also had a nightmare about the disfigured man. Tina's boyfriend, Rod Lane, interrupts their sleepover. When Tina falls asleep, she dreams of the disfigured man chasing her. Rod is awakened by Tina's thrashing and sees her dragged and fatally slashed by an unseen force, forcing him to flee as Nancy and Glenn wake up to find Tina bloodied up and dead. So, yeah. So the story kind of follows Nancy mainly. Nancy is the main character practically throughout the whole entire film. And throughout the film, a lot of people around Nancy think that Nancy is delusional, and this made up disfigured man is it's all in her head and everything, because after Tina died, authorities were convinced that Rod, who's Tina's boyfriend, was the one who killed her because of his delinquent background. So, but It turned out that that's not what happened.
Yeah,
So,
that's something that I actually really like about the whole idea about Friday the 13th, and I think I end up liking the
well,
idea more than I like the
this is a Nightmare
execution.
on Elm
I'm
Street.
sorry, I get them confused all the time.
One is
I
Jason
do
and the other
this.
one's Freddy. So
Yeah,
we're
I
talking about
know.
Freddy.
I
I
know.
know they
It's
did a
they're
crossover and stuff, but we're not
they
talking
did.
about that one.
Yeah, I'm just embarrassed myself on the podcast. Here, you're a guest. Wait, come on, man, figure it out.
You're
All
good.
right.
You're good.
What I like about A Nightmare on Elm Street is that like the idea of something coming at you in your dreams, I think, is legitimately terrifying.
Yeah.
And the whole time, like you said, Nancy's. It's essentially a movie of how much can we gaslight Nancy into thinking that all of these things that she's providing fairly good proof for. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but how much can we gaslight this poor teenage girl into thinking that she's going crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a little racy. Like literally throughout this whole movie, like literally no one believed her. I mean, her own boyfriend Glenn was even like doubting her and stuff like that. Even though he had the same, nightmares and stuff, but he didn't even like consider on like he didn't believe it. Like he's just all like, no, that's like he was just kind of like disregarding it and stuff. So
Yeah, which I guess like I can relate because for the most part, like I'm not a big believer in the supernatural or ghosts or anything.
mhm.
So when one of my buddies is like, "Dude, I know I saw a ghost," I'm like, "Okay, pal, take it easy." So I guess I can relate to his feelings, but when I like to think that if one of my friends woke up with like claw marks or something, that's when I'm gonna start taking the shit a little more
Yeah, I
seriously.
mean, you should definitely question like she didn't do that herself and everything like that. So yeah, like it was weird.
Yeah,
um
yeah. I mean, I think the idea of Freddy Krueger is just terrifying.
yeah.
Like I like to sleep.
I mean, I do
When
too.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling that.
I can't
Yeah,
imagine like not being able to sleep and stuff or like forcing myself not to sleep so I don't die. Like
absolutely not. Like
yeah.
after he tries to kill me once, I'm gonna try to stay up, crash out in 20 minutes, and be like, you know what, man, this will just be quicker if I just sit here.
Yeah.
Like, just get it over with.
Yeah. Yeah. What well, a brief history like what is like A Nightmare on Elm Street kind of like one of your favorite horror flicks or anything like that? Like
It was for a while. So, kind of like you, I was never a big fan of horror. I guess I wouldn't really say I was against it. It was never something that really piqued my interest.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
I had only caught a few here and there. Nightmare on Elm Street was one that I ended up seeing as like a teenager or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
I remembered like it actually frightened me the first time I saw it. Like I was kind of afraid to go to sleep,
Yeah.
and like
It
horror
did its
movies I'd
job.
seen after that. Yeah, like so and I hadn't seen it in years, so I'm like telling everybody like fucking Freddy Krueger, man. First Nightmare on Elm Street, legitimately terrifying.
Yeah.
Uh, so going back and watching it though, I think the practical effects were just too damn
Oh,
cheesy,
they were
like you mentioned
so
about.
cheap. I mean, they even said that in the documentary too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, their practical effects budget was like $50,000 or something,
yeah.
which is nothing for a movie, a surrealist horror movie that's supposed to be bending reality.
Yeah,
That's dirt cheap.
Not only that, but like I mean, Bob Shaw, like he was the one who's producing it, so and he was obviously the one who was paying the crew, the staff and crew and stuff. So, and they had a lot of financial troubles while they were filming this. I think they even said that for at least like 2 weeks there was no pay. So
Yep, they did mention like the head producer or whatever, that blonde woman that was in there, she had to call multiple people and be like, "We'll pay you next week, I
like
promise. Just
like
please send us the
don't.
music."
Yeah. That. Oh yeah, she was freaking pregnant and like, literally on her birthing bed, she had to call the guy who did the music for it, I'm trying to find music. The composer was Charles Bernstein.
Okay.
And I forget the woman's name. I feel bad for not knowing who she was.
She was a very prominent figure in the documentary. If you listeners are out there and are like, I need to know, just go watch it.
Yeah. But yeah, she had to freaking call him up and was all like, we need the music. The guy who was supposed to come over to your office, he got into an accident and it was like a hit and run and it was really serious and he kind of ran out of town and he took the money that we were supposed to give you. So, and he was just like, okay, it's fine.
All right.
Don't worry about it.
I mean, before that, Wes Craven didn't show up to the first day of like
the
pre-rehearsal or shooting or
yeah,
whatever.
The reading, because his agent was all like, there's no money, so you can't go. Like, until there's money, you can go. Like, there's no guarantee. Like, you have to get paid. Like, it was
Yeah.
It was like a roller coaster, and it was insane, like how wild it was to see. Like, everything just went into shambles when it came to the finance of this movie and stuff.
Yeah, this movie had no business being made, let alone creating a media empire, and it did both.
Yeah. Not only that, but they had like 10 different endings. Because Wes and Bob were kind of like on opposite ends on it, and there were certain things that Wes wanted in the film and there were certain things that Bob wanted in the film. Like, for example, the oatmeal sunken steps.
Yeah.
Wes did not want those steps in the movie, but Bob did, and Wes is all like, okay, then, well, you can direct that because I'm not going to direct that. So
you mentioned the multiple endings. I'm curious. I guess we're skipping right ahead as far as like reviewing the actual movie. But how did you feel about the ending that got chosen? Oh
man.
Because there must have been, like, what they say, there was probably 20 different options.
Yeah,
and they went with this one?
Yeah, I think at least a few of them, they were all like, just have, Freddie be dead and like have Nancy just move on or whatever, something like that. I can't remember.
One of them, the one Wes Craven wanted, was the same kind of ending, except the kids just get in the car and they just drive away. But then it zooms into the little girl still singing the song, and it's very cryptic.
Yeah.
And you as the audience are like, what, is he dead? Is he alive?
Yeah,
I don't know.
So a little thing about Wes, especially with this movie, because Wes Craven really cared about this film. Throughout the documentary series, they mentioned that A Nightmare on Elm Street was Wes's baby. Like, he really cared about this film. And there were just very particular things that he wanted in the film and everything like that. So, but with Bob being there was this wacky freaking ending where Nancy's mom, like, Nancy goes into Glenn's car with all the rest of the kids, and the hood of the car slams down and locks by themselves, and the windows roll up, and they're like freaking out, and the car drives away, and Nancy looks at her mom, who's waving at them goodbye, because you can see the concerned face in Nancy, and all of a sudden Freddie, Freddie's hand like slams out into the window of the door, and Nancy's mom gets pulled and dragged into the itty bitty little window that's in the door, and that's how the movie ends.
Who we're led to believe is Nancy's mom, but we can obviously see it's just a mannequin.
Yeah. It was in the 80s. Poor, like, special effects and everything like that. Like,
I know.
So
I love the
dumb.
Special effects guy straight up says, he's like, it was not good.
Yeah. Like,
even
the crew said, like, that was a dumb ending. Like, so And I 100% agree with them. I think that was a stupid ending to end a freaking movie. I would have liked, I don't know, maybe any of the other freaking endings that they had.
Sure. And I think you had gold because, like, I've watched it recently, and one of my big complaints about that movie is, like, at the end, the kids just say, well, we're not afraid of you, so we win. And that's kind of how they beat him.
Yeah.
And
Was
then
this in the original
Nightmare on
or
Elm
the
Street,
new one?
this was in the remake. I
Okay.
haven't seen the original.
Okay, the one with
Tim
Curry.
the kid from Stranger Things.
And Tim
Yeah, I haven't
Curry.
seen this. Yeah, I have not seen the Tim Curry one.
Okay.
It is on my list, but it's 3 hours long, and I don't know when I'm gonna sit down and watch a 3-hour movie.
That's so intimidating.
It is. It is. But anyway, so Nightmare on Elm Street has this like faux ending where Nancy pretty much says like, "I'm not afraid of you, Freddy,"
Yeah.
and he disappears.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they kind of show that. I think Wes Craven's idea of just hinting at the fact that Freddy was still alive
Right.
was way scary.
Right.
It's like, holy fuck.
Right, because
this guy cannot be beat.
Yeah, because throughout the whole thing, Wes wanted the viewers to kind of question, like, are they in reality or are they in a dream? They didn't want to pretty much, they didn't want you to, they wanted you to be skeptic on what is reality and what is a dream kind of thing. So
Without a doubt.
right. So, and that's what I definitely kind of like on a positive note. I will say this was not my favorite film.
Understandable. It's tough to go back and watch seriously.
Yeah. I mean, again, like it's super campy and everything. You could totally tell that like it at the time, I think $1.1 million is a slightly low budget film. But also again, it's the 80s, so I wasn't really like expecting anything dramatic to happen or anything like that. I knew what I was getting myself into with this. So, so it's definitely, again, and it's really not one of my favorite films, but like there are like really some good iconic scenes that this movie developed and pretty much is like that cult classic kind of like for filmmaking in general because of the techniques that they used during the film, which is what the movies that made us kind of like help you establish on what on how they did certain things. So a couple of scenes that I really enjoyed were the bathtub scene with Freddy's glove kind of poking out between Nancy's legs in the bathtub. The Glenn's death scene was also
was so over the top.
Yeah, which was freaking awesome. And honestly, like, I mean, Tina's death was pretty interesting too. And also over time, like, you do see Tina here and there, especially in Nancy's dreams, like during when Nancy fell asleep in class. And
Tina's
in like the the body bag, and it's all bloody and everything, and you just see like a trail of blood, just like, and Nancy's just following it and stuff. And there is that one girl who kind of like, she had like a nosebleed and her freaking sweater was Freddy's sweater and all that kind of stuff. So that was like a little interesting, like, oh, that's Fred, like that like gave you a hint, like, oh, that's Freddy right there and stuff. And then Nancy, you know, turned away from that person, and you just saw Tina like in the body bag, and her legs were like lifted up, and she was just like dragged. So there are like really good scenes that are like kind of really scary if you really think about it in this movie. But honestly, I think the really like the killjoy of this movie is the ending, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it just went too far on the cheese factor. Like I was willing to overlook a lot of the other stuff, but then seeing that mannequin
yeah.
slide through the window killed me. I was like, all right,
Yeah,
here we go.
yeah. It was dumb, and in all honesty, I honestly think that like, because he was the one who was really like pushing for that ending,
Hmm.
and that's
Yeah,
and that
yeah, he should have just stayed
he
away
should have
from
just left it
the thing.
alone, like, because they were honestly the two, like Wes and Bob were going back and forth between what ending they should do, and then Bob kind of, I guess, like, he kind of threw up his hands or whatever. I can't remember what they said, like whether it was Wes that said whatever, which pick up whichever ending you want,
I think
or
that's how it went.
it.
I'm pretty sure Wes just gave up so he could make the fucking movie.
Yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, like there was just like, and then all of a sudden, like Bob calls up the editor and was all like, "Hey, like do you have the ending with the mannequin getting pulled in, because I told this guy from, I think, Paramount Pictures that this was gonna be the ending and blah blah blah." And I honestly, I think Bob just fucked up there and was all
Without a
like
doubt.
literally he just wanted this movie to kind of be a big hit and everything like that. And I mean, in the end, it was like, it definitely skyrocketed in areas, and of course, like, it's a cult classic. It helped make other horror films in the industry and the genre of horror. So in that aspect, it definitely helped. But with that ending, I think it's just complete bullshit. So
Yeah, I get it. It's funny too because I was my partner. She's a product of the '80s. She's much older than I am, so she grew up with Freddy.
oh,
Like
okay.
that's her
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
She loves. So we watched it together, and I told her afterwards. I'm like, I think I didn't like it as much as I wanted to, and she was disappointed. And I start explaining all the things that I disliked. Honestly, I thought the music was kind of cheesy, and again, that might be because this is 2022 and it was made in 1984.
Yeah.
But the music was so
Yeah.
80s. It hurt.
See,
That and
like,
like
I
the
can kind
ending.
of disagree with you on that, because, like, I think it really fits the scenario and the themes that go on in the film. So, like,
Okay.
it's kind of typical for it. So, and I think that's what kind of works well with the movie because of the time that it was in and everything like that.
No, I
So,
do respect that. And even though I thought, like, just on the outset, the music's pretty cheesy, and this will go into, like, one of my favorite scene of the movie, but there was a point where the music started playing, and I'm like, this is stupid. This is a dumb soundtrack. Why is my heart racing? What the fuck? And it was the scene where Nancy goes to whoever Tina's boyfriend was, but she goes to visit him in
oh,
jail.
Rod Lane.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a really long scene,
Yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah.
and we're led to believe that it's all in reality, and then just at the end of the scene, you find out that this has all been a dream. I was like, that's
Yeah.
actually put a little bit of fear into my heart with
Yeah.
that, like,
Yeah.
that 80s synth going in the background and just pulsating. I was like,
Mhm.
all right, I get it. I'm a little scared.
Yeah. So you would say that, would that be kind of like your favorite part in the film, or
I honestly think so. Like you mentioned some iconic scenes. Like I think we all love watching Johnny Depp turn
just getting
into a
sucked into his bed, and then
yeah
freaking a
a
a gallon,
water fountain of blood.
literally a fountain of blood just spewts out.
Like that's wonderful, but I think like you mentioned, Wes Craven wanted to blur the lines between reality and a dream, and I think that sequence did it better than any sequence in the movie.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
was legitimately fooled. Other times there are cues, like you said, the girl has Freddy's sweater on. Well, this is probably a dream. That for this few minutes there were no visual cues that this
Yep.
was a dream.
Mhm. It was only it was definitely very subtle when you start to figure out, oh yes, this is a dream kind of thing. Especially when when you know Freddy actually does appear kind of stuff.
Yeah, because then you're really I personally was really in the mind of the character, because up until then it's like you can't, this movie can't fool me, and then it just fooled me, and then I'm like, ah, fuck, I'm dead.
Yeah, seriously, the same. So do we want to talk about anything else, or do we want to move on to Halloween?
I think I'm good as far as Nightmare on Elm Street goes.
Okay. One last thing. What would you rate this film?
Oh, this is interesting because I don't have anything to compare it to. Well, it's not as good as Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh my gosh.
I think I'm gonna give it a 7.
Wow. Okay.
I really think I am, because I believe most of my critiques are because of looking back on the movie 40 years later almost.
Mm-hmm.
I think if at the time, I really believe that the practical effects weren't nearly as bad as they are now.
Right.
I think the music would have fit, like you said, it fit the time period. So if that music was normal, it wouldn't have struck me so much.
Right. Yeah.
And especially after seeing all the production issues that they went through, like, I have a lot of respect for this movie, and just the fact that it was able to get made, and it really shook up the horror genre at the time.
Yeah, it definitely did. And like I said, like it helped develop more inspiring people to do horror and stuff like that, especially today and everything. I mean, we wouldn't have the horror stuff that we have now if it wasn't for this film, and also Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween as well. Like,
very true. So a couple of pioneers right here.
Yeah. So like, this is definitely, and this is why I kind of really wanted to do like these movies in particular, because these movies are pretty much what started the horror genre that we know today and everything like that. So, I mean, and it's the same.
Unless you want to go back to like 1920s Italian films, but that's going a little too far.
And I mean, well, and if we really want to go back, you know, we can freaking talk about Alfred Hitchcock. Like, Alfred Hitchcock films were at the time the scariest movies ever. Like, Psycho, for example, was definitely the most scariest film out there to date.
Birds? I own birds.
I hate birds. I hate birds. I hate birds with a passion. I hate it. I will say it again. I hate fucking birds. I had to watch that for...
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were talking about the movie or just birds in general.
No, the movie.
Okay.
Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. I hate that fucking movie. That movie is so stupid. I hate it. I absolutely hate it so much with a passion.
I love it.
I hate it. Oh man,
I've never seen it. Just the premise of a bunch of birds grouping around my house is terrifying.
Yeah.
I own birds. I know how vindictive they can be.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Have you ever seen it? Like,
I haven't.
Okay.
I have not.
All right. I mean,
Is it boring? Is that what the problem?
I really don't want to get into this because.
Okay, all right, yeah, we'll be here. We'll be here for a while.
We can save it for a cinematography episode. I would love to talk about some Alfred Hitchcock, like old, like before, like movies before the 1980s. Like I would totally be into that.
I mean, I'm definitely down if you can tell me where to watch it.
Yeah,
I'll sign me up. I'm good.
Okay, cool.
Let's do it.
Cool. We'll planning on the podcast.
I love it.
So my rating for this film is definitely, again, not one of my favorites. So I think I'm gonna give it like a 6.8.
Respectable.
So, because the ending was definitely not one of my favorite endings. I really wish frickin' Wes could have pushed for a different ending, or maybe even like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not that interested in owning this film or anything like that. Maybe on like their Blu-ray or something, they would have given you like alternate endings, because some movies like for the ownership of the DVD or Blu-ray, will have like alternate endings, you know, like the what ifs, like these were the
Yeah.
possible endings that could have happened for the movie. So
No, that's a really good idea. I never even thought of that, but that's a genius idea.
yeah, so or like they could have done the whole like this is Wes Craven's like ending kind of thing, like I don't
Yeah, it's
know.
like the Zack Snyder cut of Elm Street.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, like definitely like a director's cut or something like that. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Wes definitely got the ball handed to him when he was working with Bob. So,
Oh yeah, and I mean it goes to show that making a movie is a lot different than like traditional art. If you want to paint something, you paint whatever the fuck you want. You don't
yeah.
need a guy funding $1 million to paint this piece.
Yeah, and also struggling to get that money.
Yeah, yeah, promising you $1 million, we're not knowing where it's gonna come
Yeah,
from.
yeah. So, but anyway, okay, so let's move on to John Carpenter's Halloween.
All right.
Yeah, this one I think is the winner out of the two films that we were reviewing today. So, I personally think that this is art. Like this is honestly art right here.
I agree. I'm a John Carpenter fan now. I'm buying a jacket with his name on the back. I'm all in. This is the first movie I've seen of his, and I'm already a
Oh,
diehard
really?
fan.
Okay.
Really, I've heard of The Thing, which I really want to watch. I just can't find anywhere to stream. And in today's day and
Ah.
age, how else am I gonna watch it?
Yeah, yeah.
So I've heard about that. I didn't realize until I heard Sam mention it that John Carpenter was the original director of the first Halloween. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So if you have a prescription, a sub prescription, do you need an RX pad?
Does it say Hulu or Netflix? I can't fucking read this thing.
Subscription. It's on Peacock. And
It is also on Shudder subscription.
okay.
Yes, yeah, it's a horror-based streaming
And
service.
you can rent it for $3.99 on Amazon Prime Video, and it's $3.99 on Apple TV. So, that's the movie The Thing, by the way. So,
I thought you were talking about Halloween.
oh yeah, well
Okay.
Halloween as well. Like I could not find this movie for the life of me. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't.
I had to borrow
it-
my buddy's Shudder account to watch it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Like for me, I could not find it anywhere or anything like that. I ended up renting it on my Amazon Prime account. So
Well worth the price of admission.
for sure. Like I mean, I rented it. It was like $3.99, so I was all like, okay, cool, I'll do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is an independent film by John Carpenter. He co-wrote it. He directed and scored, so he did the music, and it was also co-written with producer Deborah Hill, who Deborah Hill is also a big known producer. She unfortunately got diagnosed with colon cancer in 2004. So her life was definitely cut short and everything. But in 2005, Hill reunited with Carpenter to produce the remake of The Fog, and was working on the Oliver Stone film World Trade Center when she died of cancer on March 7th, 2005. So, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, Deborah Hill worked very, very close with John. They did a lot of films together. So, they did Halloween, they did The Fog, and they did Escape from New York, which
Okay, that's Kurt Russell, right? I think.
yes, it starred Kurt Russell, Lee Van Cleef, a whole bunch of people. Isaac Hayes, Harvey Dean, Harry Dean Stanton, So she also had a voice cameo in that movie as well. She actually had a
nice.
cameo in both Halloween and The Fog. I didn't even notice her.
No shit.
Um,
It would have helped if I watched the documentary and then watched Halloween. I would have been able to like, oh, I remember them talking about that.
yeah, I mean, well, I don't think they even mentioned it in the film, in the
Oh, that's true.
documentary. So they honestly just were talking about how great a producer Deborah was and stuff.
And
So
I think she did a fantastic job. Like in the docuseries, they mentioned that the reason that the three girls felt so real was because she wrote them. And
yeah,
I think that's a big reason why the movie was so scary is
yeah,
because it felt like just real people
yeah,
just living
yeah.
their lives.
So John Carpenter's Halloween starred Jamie Lee Curtis, which was her film debut. Another big name star that her first major film was a horror movie. Jamie Lee Curtis is also known as a scream queen because she did a lot of other movies. Not only that, but Jamie Lee Curtis was perfect for this part because her mother, where is it? Jeanette Lee was the star in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. So
Yeah, that's why Carpenter ended up wanting her,
yeah,
right? Like she
yeah,
had no pedigree before that. He
yeah.
was just like, get me, or it was the producer. Somebody was like,
They
I
were
know her mom. Give me that girl.
Yeah, they were both wanting. So the cast of Halloween included veteran actor Donald Pleasence and unknown actor. Yeah, okay, we knew that. They said I remember specifically they said that they wanted an unknown actor for the part for Laurie. And Jamie Lee came up and they're all like, well, she just started acting. Like she doesn't really, apparently her acting wasn't like a wow figure kind of thing. But the more
Yeah.
that they researched her background and like who her parents were, they were all like, okay, she needs to be in this movie because of Jeanette Lee. So yeah, so that was honestly like a no-brainer kind of thing for that. So, but yeah, so this, and also, one of the crew members, his name is Nick Castle. He was the one who played, Michael Myers, or the Shape as they called him.
Yeah,
in
the
movie.
working title.
Yeah. So, but a little bit about the film. On Halloween night in 1963, in the fictional suburban town Haddonfields, Illinois, 6-year-old Michael Myers stabs his teenage sister Judith to death with a chef's knife. 14 years later, he is incarcerated at Smith's Grove Sanitarium. On October 30th, 1978, Michael's psychiatrist, Dr. Samuel Loomis, arrives at the sanitarium to escort Michael to court for a hearing. Loomis hopes that Michael will be locked up for life. Michael escapes Smith's Grove, killing a mechanic for his coveralls on the way back to Haddonfield. Upon arriving, he steals knives, rope, and a white, expressionless mask from a hardware store. And for those of you who don't know, the iconic Michael Myers mask is actually a Captain Kirk mask. And
I was lied to for years
What
too.
did
I don't
you
know if
think
you
it
heard the
was?
rumor. Well, I knew it was Captain Kirk, but I was always told that it was just flipped inside out and
really,
used that way. Yeah, that was the
Really?
rumor that my partner, same thing. She had always heard that. That was like common knowledge. And then we watched this docuseries, and they're just like, no, we just painted it white.
yeah,
and it was-
got
it
rid
was
of
good
the
to go."
eyebrows and the sideburns, colored it white, and darkened the hair, and then they also kind of like cut out the eyes a little bit more, so like there was no like eyelids or anything. So
yeah, no, it's genuinely terrifying.
Yeah,
Like I'll never look at William Shatner the same again.
So yeah, right. The film's budget was between 30,000 to sorry, not 30,000. Wow, that is like the most cheap, like low budget horror film ever.
That would be a hell of a feat.
Yeah. The movie's budget was $300,000 to $325,000.
Which isn't shit. I mean, we were praising Nightmare on Elm Street for $1 million budget.
Yeah,
this is a third of that.
This is chump change right here, like
absolutely
in
nothing.
comparison. So yeah, but like honestly, throughout the whole film, like on that $300K, it mainly that whole thing was mainly put into the cameras that they used. For
and
the film.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Like,
so,
we'll make do with everything else. We can get horror elsewhere. What we can't get is good film quality.
Yes. And that's why I think I love Carpenter so much, because he was very delicate with what type of equipment he wanted to use, and his vision for this film in particular. So how he wanted his vision for this film was he wanted like first person experience. So he wanted those motion cameras to not be like kind of, that typical kind of having someone have the camera on their shoulder and then walking around. But when you have that, you can obviously see the camera going up and down, but for this film, it's clean, it's smooth, like it's kind of what happens in The Shining when Dannie is kind of riding his tricycle around the halls, and how the camera is just following him around. So,
which, quick aside, that is the all-time scariest scene I have ever seen in a horror movie.
Yeah.
that one particular. But yeah, and I love, back to Halloween, but he wastes no time showing off what this camera can do. The first scene is this long ass one shot of Michael as a kid.
Right. I actually just found the name of the camera. So it's a clone of the Steadicam. It's called a Panaglide.
Hell yeah.
So that's pretty much majority of what the film was filmed on was the Panaglide. So, and it was like a then new camera that allowed filmmakers to move around spaces smoothly. So, yeah. So that I really, really enjoyed. Like, you can totally tell, like, in comparison from A Nightmare on Elm Street, like, if you put these two films like side by side, like, you can totally tell like how delicate and how honestly charismatic John Carpenter's Halloween is compared to Nightmare on Elm Street, in my opinion. Like, I really enjoyed the camera angles and just how the camera was following everybody in the movie, and also like just kind of how they did like this first person kind of thing too, especially in the beginning of the movie with the whole going up to the house and then it moving to the side and then looking into the window and then kind of going through the back through the kitchen, and then the kid grabbing the chef's knife and then just walking through the halls and seeing the guy leave the house, and then all of a sudden him picking up the mask and putting the mask on over the camera and stuff like that. So
yeah, I love that. It's so creative.
Yeah.
And I love learning how films and art is made. It's like, well, we had to figure out a way to make this one continuous shot, and just the little genius of just put the mask over the camera for just a frame,
Yeah.
and then we can do it all over again. It's so cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was gonna say something, but now I forgot.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Crap. No, it's fine. Shoot. Yep, it's gone. I can't think of it.
It's okay. It's all right. I'm sure it'll come back. As soon as we're done recording, you'll be like, "Oh, that thing I remember."
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So like, what was your favorite parts of this film?
Okay, so I have 2 parts that are definitely, without a doubt, my favorite. First one was when Michael Myers is chasing Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's in the closet, like huddled back.
Yes.
And he's like jangling the door, and even before that, as you know, he's coming up.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It feels like a very hopeless situation, and I thought that spooked the shit out of me. And then right at the end, like I audibly looked at my partner and said, "That's not how it ends, right? Fuck you. That's not how it ends." Where he shoots him, he falls off the balcony, and then they look back and he's just gone, and then credits roll.
Yeah.
That fucking goddamn, that actually scared me. I start looking out my window like, I don't know, man, he could be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about yourself though?
Oh gosh. I mean, personally, I think I like the very beginning of the film, even before any of the events happen, is kind of pretty much what I described, like how they use the paraglide, the Panaglide, to do that with the house, and pretty much the death of Judith Myers and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, now I remember what I was gonna say. John Carpenter, and also the guy who pretty much produced alongside with Deborah Hall. I forget. Damn it, I forget the guy who kind of did like word of mouth for this film.
I know, I can see his face.
Yeah.
It's burned into my head. I can't remember his name.
I feel terrible. If you watch the documentary episode, you'll know who he is.
Yeah, he's another very prominent figure.
He didn't really want any blood in the movie at all. And neither did John, really. Like, he didn't want to show any blood at all. Even though they did have blood on hand to use, and that's pretty much where majority, like, honestly, the most blood that you will see in this entire film is the very beginning of the movie when Judith Myers gets killed.
Yeah.
So
now, I didn't watch the documentary until after, and that blew my mind, because I watched the whole movie and it never occurred to me that there was almost no blood, there was no gore.
Yeah, there was
like, holy shit,
very little blood. I think honestly the very few blood that you see is that scene. Also the scene with I think his name is Bob. It was what is her name? Linda. It was her boyfriend that she was.
Was this the guy that got stuck to the wall
Yes.
with the kitchen knife?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Even then, though, like, just a little bit of blood so you know that the guy actually got stabbed, but nothing over the top.
Yeah.
And
I will say that whole scene just was all like, that can never happen. Like that, like getting stabbed and just getting hung by like a single kitchen chef's knife can never exist. It cannot happen. Like a body cannot be held by a single knife like that. Especially,
listen, Dannie stuck a lot of people to the walls, okay? She would know.
Yeah, especially like on a pantry door. Like,
oh, hell no.
Yeah.
That thing's swinging open at least. You're falling. It's all messy.
Yeah. So, but also like another thing that I really enjoyed about this film was kind of like how this movie also does like mind tricks for you too, because they wanted the viewer to kind of follow the person and also the eerie music that happens in the movie too. They wanted the audience to pay attention to the right side of the movie, but then all of a sudden they have to like quickly look at the left because there's Michael right there, like behind. Like, so for example, when Annie Brackett is about to die in the car, you can see obviously there's no one behind her. So, and she's kind of like getting her things all together and stuff. And then all of a sudden she noticed, like when she turned on the car, she noticed that the windows were like foggy and she didn't know why. So she like kind of leaned over and she kind of like put her finger to like rub on the fog of the window. And then all of a sudden, like to your right, boom, you see Michael, and he's strangling her, and that's it. Like she died. Same thing when Lori goes to the house, because she hasn't heard from Annie or even Linda for that matter. Like she didn't hear from anybody, because when Linda called and was all like, hey, have you heard from Annie at all? Like, I haven't heard from her and blah, blah, blah. So, but then, her last phone call with Linda was when she was getting strangled by Michael again. And that's when Lori decided to go to the house to like investigate and stuff. And then she goes in to the bedroom and she sees Annie kind of sprawled out on the bed, and then you see the tombstone of Judith Myers, and like, Lori is like all terrified and scared, and she goes into like that corner with that opening of the hallway or something, and obviously there's nobody there, but then all of a sudden there's a light, and the music gets cued, and boom, like you see the face of Michael, and then he attacks Lori and stuff. Yeah.
I loved listening to the filmmakers explain how that was done too, to where it was just a little dimming light, just enough to reveal him. And like all the things you're saying, I also love about the movie, the way that Carpenter is continuously making you feel uncomfortable, and then putting you at ease just to make you feel uncomfortable again when Michael actually does attack.
Yeah. I found the producer's name.
Hell yeah.
His name is Erwin Yablans.
Okay, yeah.
So Halloween was his first film that he produced. And the financer, I'm not even gonna bother trying to pronounce his name because he's a Syrian American film producer who financed the movie. So, this film, honestly, like for as old as it is, I think it still holds up, even though it's a 1978 movie. I wouldn't say it's scary, but it does make you feel uncomfortable in certain situations.
Sure. Like, and that all the things that we've already talked about, the way the cinematography.
Yeah.
But that it was all done in such a way to where you didn't need these bloody, gory events. It was all like the producer guy kept saying, theater of the mind.
Yes.
You make your own fear.
Right. Yeah.
And it as far as visuals go, I was surprised, especially considering this was 1978, like not even into the 80s yet. And it looks so good.
Yeah.
So goddamn
very
good.
little. I mean, honestly, you don't really need a whole lot of special effects for this movie because it's not an imaginative movie like Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street is like a supernatural kind of thing where you do kind of need those special effects for certain things, whereas this, it's a simple kind of slasher film, and it's just a regular guy who is troubled. Literally, he's a psychopath, and he wears a mask and coveralls. I want to keep saying overalls, but they're not overalls. They're coveralls.
That would be way less scary if he's just running around in some overalls.
I mean, then it would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yep, yep. No, I think the simplicity of Michael Myers really plays into his fear. It's
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
said, it's just a all for all intents and purposes, other than him being apparently superhuman. But that's neither here nor there. But he's just a guy. Like anybody could be Michael Myers. Somebody who just kind of snaps one day. Could be your neighbor. This is a nice suburb. What's saying it couldn't be your nice suburb?
yes, yeah. Um, so this movie actually wasn't like a huge hit at the box office like opening day. It gradually over time it did exceptionally well. So Erwin Yablobs, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Yeah, blobs.
Yablobs. So the distribution for this movie, Halloween premiered on October 24th, 1978 in downtown Kansas City, Missouri, at an AMC Empire Theater. And then it reached, like, it did so well that because it was like a word of mouth kind of thing. That's what Irwin wanted, because nobody wanted to distribute this film. Like, I think he showed it to like all the big wig companies like Paramount Plus and like Columbia and all that kind of stuff. So because this at the time was an independent film, so, and it was so low budget, so he took it upon himself, because he had the background of doing film distribution, that he just did it himself. And he went to certain big towns. So like that's where he started in Kansas City, and then over time, the more people who went to go see it, they would go back and call up their friends and say, you got to see this movie. And then that's literally how it gradually went. And that's when he said, okay, so if it's doing so well here, I'm going to put it in New York and Philadelphia. And that's kind of like where it skyrocketed. And it grossed practically over $1 million in 198 theaters across the U.S. In its opening week. So, and then the film grossed $47 million in the United States and an additional $23 million internationally. So, making it a total of a $70 million movie. So making
that's not bad.
Yeah,
that's
so making this
investment.
indie film a success.
I would say so. And like you mentioned, all those genius marketing strategies, and then on top of that, how Irwin was like, we'll call the movie Halloween, and that way every year we have the holiday movie.
Yeah.
It's going to be playing in every theater until the end of time.
Right. And by the way, I also really enjoyed that when Irwin found John Carpenter, there were a couple demands that John wanted. One of them was, of course, Deborah Hill, because he's worked with Deborah Hill. There was a few other demands that I forget, but the one...
It's like $10,000.
$10,000, yeah, I think that's what it was. And to have his name at the top of the title. I think that was like literally the cherry on top.
I think it really was too, and I love that.
Literally, I think he's
so
smart.
much.
I think John Carpenter was a smart man by doing that, because forever it will be known as John Carpenter's Halloween.
And
forever.
That's like that's a constant thing for him, because the Thing I knew was John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
So that's a way to get your name out there for sure. To slap it on the front of your movies.
Right. To just have your name splat up there. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen any other John Carpenter films. I am curious on his other films he made, particularly Christine, because again, that's like another scary movie. But I'm just really curious on his version of like a Stephen King flick, because
for sure,
honestly, the only Stephen King movie that I have seen is The Shining, and that's that's all I know of Stephen King, really. And of course, like It and I think Cujo. Is Cujo a Stephen King film?
Cujo is Stephen
Okay.
King, yeah.
Yeah. So those are the only ones that I know of Stephen King, but also like they were scary movies, so I never really watched them aside from The Shining. Like I saw The Shining way later because that was more of a psychological thriller versus like a hacking slash.
Yeah.
So but yeah, this film went on to make many other films. So this film is considered one of the greatest and most influential horror films ever made. So
I would agree with that.
yeah, I
I'd
would
say
totally.
as far as like modern day slashers go, this is really the granddad of modern day slashers.
Yeah. Halloween spanned a film franchise compromising 13 films, which helped construct an extensive backstory for its antagonist, Michael Myers, sometimes narratively diverging entirely from previous installments, meaning a lot of the successor Halloween films kind of literally had nothing to do with this film in particular. So
yeah, all the Rob Zombie ones were complete reboots. He wanted to have his own take on Michael Myers, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. The only like sequels, well, Halloween 2 I would say, like is kind of a direct sequel to this one because they put a little twist that Laurie is actually a sibling of Michael Myers.
Okay, yeah.
However, I did hear that rumor. So, but the 11th installment, which was the newest, like Halloween, which released into 2018, the director of that film, who is David Gordon Green, he disregarded all of the sequels, including Halloween 2. So the trilogy that just released, so Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends, is a direct sequel to John Carpenter's Halloween.
That's pretty cool. I dig that.
Yeah. So, like, so he didn't put in like Laurie Strode is related to Michael Myers. Like that doesn't exist in these movies.
That's probably for the best. I think sometimes you get a little too convoluted with the backstory. You try to connect too many wires and things just get really messy.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no telling. I mean, I never saw any of those films, like the later ones, because special effects got more advanced and more realistic. So I don't know if I can handle something like that just yet. Low-key,
definitely ease into it.
Yeah, low-key, I kind of wish Sam was here because Halloween is one of Sam's favorite slashers. Like she's a big fan of Michael Myers. I'm quoting her from our last cinematography, and everyone knows this. Michael Myers is the greatest slasher of all time. That's what she says. And honestly, I kind of agree with her, especially with this movie. I really, really liked this movie in particular.
Yeah, so I was coming in, as I heard Sam say that on your last episode, and I was coming in with the fire. I was like, you know what? Freddy Krueger, he's the real scary guy. You know how you get rid of Michael Myers? Board an international flight.
Yeah.
How's he going to get on one of those?
Yeah, move out of Michael Myers' hometown because that's literally where he only goes. Like, he doesn't go anywhere else.
Just move to New Zealand and you at least get some time away from Michael Myers. Can he swim that far?
Yeah.
I don't know what he can't do. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was waiting for like some fist flying if Sam was going to be on this and stuff. So
oh, yeah, without a doubt. I really wanted to I'm going to have to hit her up personally on our own time because I was curious. Are you familiar with the third Halloween movie at all? I know you probably haven't watched it, but do you know what it's about?
So the Halloween 3, which was, I think the title was Halloween 3 Seasons of a Witch or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's Season of the Witch. So I wanted to get her thoughts on it.
So,
I watched that when I was 13, 14. I was like, I'm finally going to watch a Michael Myers movie.
right.
I watched the entire fucking thing.
And
There's no big stabby guy. He's
yeah,
not in
he
the
doesn't
movie.
show up. Yeah. So I actually looked into this movie a little bit. And Tommy Lee Wallace wrote and directed this. And if you don't know who Tommy Lee Wallace is, he is the guy who designed the Michael Myers mask.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, he was in the documentary.
Yes.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
remembering now.
Yeah. He directed this. This film, it departs from the slasher genre of like the first two films, and it's instead features a witchcraft theme with science fiction aspects. So, and I actually went on the wiki, and it says, as the series, as with the series' other films, suspense, tension are key themes, exploring violence against young children. Where else did I? Oh, here it is. Okay, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill believed that the Halloween series could have been an anthology series of films that centered around Halloween night. So, with each sequel containing its own character, setting, and storyline. Director Wallace stated there were many ideas for Halloween-themed films, some of which could have potentially created any number of their own sequels, and that Season of the Witch was meant to be the first. So John Carpenter kind of had this vision of Halloween. So they're really, honestly, Michael Myers was just a character for those first two films. And then this one was kind of like an installment of, just a Halloween night experience kind of thing.
Okay, I think it's a really cool idea, Halloween mass turning kids into like zombies or whatever it was going for.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you my disappointment thinking I'm gonna see Michael Myers and an hour and a
Yeah.
half later he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, that film, where is it? The budget on the movie's budget was 2.5 million, and Halloween 3 made a profit of grossing 14.4 million at the box office in the US, but it was also the poorest performing film in the Halloween series at the time. Most critics gave the film negative reviews. Despite the reception, reevaluation in later years has given Halloween 3 new legions of fans and has established its own reputation as a standalone cult film. So,
Okay.
over time, so it's kind of honestly like a lot of things that have. So last week we talked about The Craft. The Craft had a lot of controversies because of the whole witchcraft theme and everything. And
Oh, yeah.
that's kind of what happened with this film. Now, by the way, I never watched this film at all, so I have no idea what happens. This was just like me going down the rabbit hole, and just looking into it and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So, but this, honestly, I mean, if you really think about it as not like part of the Halloween, like Michael Myers series, it is like its standalone film. Like, if you just don't think about like it trying to be like a Michael Myers thing, then I'm pretty sure it's a really good film. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch it to make a better decision.
yeah.
Because I think it's probably the more you talk about it and the more it's like, oh, this was kind of John Carpenter's vision too. It's like, all right, well, there must be something behind this.
Yeah. So so the wiki says Halloween is the only entry in the series that does not feature the series antagonist Michael Myers. After the film's disappointing reception at the box office performance, Michael Myers was brought back 6 years later in Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers. So,
All right. So pro tip, anybody out there, if you want to see Michael Myers for the first time, don't choose 3. Choose any other Halloween movie.
Yeah. So, so I think that's kind of why this season of the witch got such negative reviews, is because the first 2 films, Halloween and Halloween 2, it had Michael Myers in it. So when you finally have a third installment, people are expecting to see that antagonist in the movie. Honestly, I think if they didn't put Halloween 3 and just put Season of the Witch, I think it.
Oh yeah,
I think it probably would have
gone
done
over so much better.
Yeah, I think a lot of critics probably would have seen the movie a lot differently, and a lot of fans who kind of do the following of like the big slasher characters like Michael Myers. Like, if it didn't have the title Halloween in it, I'm pretty sure it would have done. The outcome for it would have been different, very, very different.
I would have had a different outlook on it because, again, the only reason I thought Michael Myers was in it because of pop culture osmosis.
Yeah.
He's the Halloween guy.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So, yeah. Do you have any final thoughts for this movie, and what do you rate it?
Final thoughts. Again, I think I've said it all, but just to recap, the fact that this was made in the late 70s and it looks better than a lot of movies that came after it. I think the visuals still hold up today. I think it's still, for what it tried to do, be a horror movie with no gore, no blood, and just play with you that suspense. I think it did a masterful job. And I think I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 at the end of the day. There were no moments that made me actually jump out of my seat. But a lot of moments that made me feel super unsettled.
Right. Yeah. I can agree with you. Honestly, I think I'm going to give it a 9 as well.
Hell because, yeah. Teamwork.
Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work. Just because it's an independent film, and just by watching the documentary episode, it really opened my eyes, and it really showed you that the crew, from like the director to the film producer to everybody who was a part of that film, really cared about what went on in the film too. So, and it was also really fun to see, people's experience and how they talked about the film and everything like that. So, and of course, this film inspired A Nightmare on Elm Street, and among other horror genres that is out there. So yeah, I really liked this movie, more so for the artsy part of it. Like, John Carpenter really cared about camera angles and the cinematography throughout the film. So will it inspire me to watch more Halloween movies? Maybe the older ones. I don't know if I will watch the new, like the sequels, like the 2018 ones, like anything I think past like maybe the 2000s I probably won't, or maybe even in the 90s I probably won't watch, because again, like, things like cinema has gotten better over the years, and graphics and special effects have got improved drastically. So maybe I won't. I don't know.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for your potential journey, and honestly, I mean, I hope you end up doing this again next year when it comes spooky season.
I mean,
again,
I kind of want to start to make this into like an annual thing. So who knows? Maybe I'll do another Halloween movie. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I feel that, and then it's like I don't have to watch scary movies until October.
Yeah.
I'm fine, and then I'll get them out of the way for the year.
Yeah,
it's good.
yeah. We'll see what happens. There are a lot. I mean, there are not just like slashers that are just known for Halloween. I mean, there's like a lot of other like fun movies like The Addams Family and Beetlejuice and all that kind of stuff that I definitely would love to talk about and everything. Because those are the movies that I like to watch during Halloween, are like the Halloween themed comedies and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's like it's everything. It's a horror aesthetic, but it takes itself way more lightly than a Halloween or a Nightmare on Elm Street.
yes. So, but yes, thank you, Earthworm, for coming on and doing this with me. This was a lot of fun. I will definitely want to do this again next year, or I mean, not just like just do Halloween themes. Like I would a lot of just movies in general. I love doing these kinds of things. So
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun, and I've really just gotten into horror within the past probably years when I've really wanted to delve into it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
any excuse I have to watch some old classics, I'll take that all day.
Awesome.
This is wonderful.
Yay! Is there anything you want to like shout out or plug for your own podcast?
Well, I am from the Anime Brothers podcast. Me and my co-host JD, we do weekly episodes, sometimes broad discussion topics, sometimes reviewing an entire anime. I believe, is this coming out before Halloween, Danny?
Yes, this is coming.
Okay.
This is going to be coming out Friday. So we're recording Monday, so it'll come out on the 28th, which is a
Okay,
Friday.
well, if y'all listening want more spooky content, hopefully it's kind of up the same alley. But go in that search bar wherever you're listening. Hopefully Spotify, because you need to give these people a 5-star rating. But that's neither here nor there. But search up the Anime Brothers, and we have a Halloween episode coming up. We are going to be reviewing Devilman Crybaby.
Ooh.
So I'm very excited to delve into Masaki Yuasa's Pit of Despair.
He is not my favorite director.
I don't think I've seen anything of his yet, and I appreciate when anime goes off model to do wacky animation and just make things look fluid.
Yeah,
and I've heard he's a very, very, very good at that.
He is very good. He's a weird. His choices of direction is odd.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully it's just my kind of odd, because I dig some weird shit.
Okay.
But hopefully everybody, come over on to the Anime Brothers podcast. We'd love to have you.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, so this episode, I hope you guys enjoy it and also enjoy the Junji Ito collection and Tomy review that me and Nick do. So, yeah, stay spooky, my friends. Stay safe out on Halloween if anyone does go out and everything like that.